Hello, Andrea. Hello, do you hear me?
Hello, I can hear you now. Sorry, I
don't hear you. Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, should I? That was my fault. I have muted my own headphones on my own phone. Yeah. I hear you. Okay. How are things?
Hey. Good. It's spring, it's sunny, incredibly. It's getting warmer. So what about
we
you?
got the backlash on the winter in Sweden, so it's cold again. It was like 6, 7, 8 degrees plus last week, and now it's like 6, 7 minus again. So, and snow.
6, 7 minus. Oh
yeah,
gosh.
we're back in winter.
Oh no.
We enter daylight savings time, but it doesn't feel like that. But
Yeah, no, it's
short period.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's not incredibly warm here. It's like 7 degrees now, but it's 7 degrees plus, and it's sunny.
It's sunny. That's great. Yeah.
So,
change of
time. Sorry?
No, that's just the people have understood the change of time, the daylight savings time.
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, Evan pinged me that it's 5 a.m. for him. It's too early, so he won't join today.
Of course.
And yeah.
And the same with Ben, I guess. Who else normally joins these Monday meetings?
I mean,
sometimes, right?
Sometimes like Brad or Jalander.
Right. Robert, no, he won't join either. Yeah, I guess it's mostly us then. So let's see what we can do.
Yes.
So you made the release. There are maybe some pieces left to be done. Announcing it.
Yeah. Okay, let me. Oh, is that? Oh no, I think I was updating I was trying to make an agenda for today, and I was updating the
Zig doc or
no, the notes from last week.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry, let me try and fix that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I think that's last time notes back, and yeah. All right. Yes. Yeah. So indeed, they're release notes here, and this is the link to the documentation. I can open it quickly. So this is the release notes.
Yep. Looks good.
And link to the documentation. Right, so there is this new continuous operation events. I picked the cogs.
Okay,
that's fine. We can change it if needed.
Good.
Yeah, so I started working on the Golang SDK, and I think it's coming out nicely. I basically started doing the updates and then ended up saying, no, I don't want to do these updates manually all the time, and they're too error prone.
Okay.
So I started automating the generation of the or good bunch of the say event specific part of the code of the SDK from the schemas.
Good. Yeah.
And that worked nicely. So I think I got I would say all of the code automated now, and I'm going through the tests. So yeah, almost I could say 50% through with the tests, automating them.
Sure.
So the idea of the process is that it will be like there is a sub modules in the SDK that points to the spec repo. So when you want to update to a new release, basically you move the sub module to the new tag.
Yeah.
You run the generation script, you run the test, and there might be a few things failing that needs to be tuned, but otherwise everything should be there. Like if the examples introduce a new string, new test value that you need to put in the test or something like that.
Right.
But otherwise everything should be just like that. And I will add a CI job that will run the generation script and check that the main branch is in sync with that basically, so that
And
you're
the test,
not
I guess,
merging.
would generate all existing event types then, and validate them towards the schemas or as well.
Yes, it will generate the field type definition from the schemas. And then it will try to use this generated code to produce the examples from the repo.
Yeah.
As well, from the spec repo.
That's good. Yeah. Good. So one thing I guess that you will lack when you generate this SDK from the JSON schemas is that it will not be in any way documented. So you not have documentation of the SDK itself, right? It will be just the structures there, so to say. And that's I guess it's a limitation of JSON because you cannot have comments in JSON really.
Yes, there is likely fewer comments than before. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we could do something about it eventually.
I don't know if we could in JSON really, could we? Just as a comment there, for Eiffel, we did recently a change. Maybe I discussed that before. We moved actually from JSON being the source format to a YAML format instead, a homegrown YAML format, from which we then generate the JSON schemas and also the documentation, the markdown documentation we have.
Yeah.
Together with the documentation, with the comments and everything. And then the idea is that we should also be able to generate SDK code from there. And then we will have the comments in that code because we have it in the markdowns. Oh, sorry, in the YAML files.
Yeah, no, I got.
We use YAML instead.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know if there is some. There should be some documentation format open source. I would expect really that does something similar, but I haven't really seen any. So we just made a very simple YAML format ourselves, which of course contains the structure from the JSON, but then also adding some specific keywords for documentation and such things.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be a natural next step. And I think so the generation, the code generation works in a way that basically it parses the YAML the JSON files, and it builds a small object with all the data that is required, like versions, type, and this kind of thing. And then there are some templates, and it uses the Go templating supports to basically go and generate those files from these data objects. So if we switched from JSON schema to different format or JSON schema plus some additional file, whatever format we decide to go for. I mean, the change would be probably minimal in the current code from the SDK perspective.
You could still generate the SDK from the JSON if you like to, but then eventually leverage from the other format if that would gain more information someday. But of course, having it generated from the JSON today is very good, because then it will be compatible with any future versions, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing I need to check with the other SDK folks was thinking we could take this Go tool. It's actually at the end is like a Go binary that will parse the JSON schemas and run some templates. And the format or the language of those templates is really language agnostic. So you could generate, if you had template for other languages, you could in theory use this same tool to generate like Java files or Python files, things like that.
Okay.
So maybe that's a possibility. We could use this to, and take this tool maybe then out of the Go SDK, put it in a shared repo, and then use it to generate all the various SDKs. So it's just an idea, but
sounds good.
Yeah, because otherwise, if every time we make a new release, we need to spend many days, time, man effort for each SDK to bring them up to date. It's not scalable.
No, you're right.
So I decided to invest a bit more this time in trying to do some automation.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Apart from that, then once that is done, that would be the release then of the SDK itself, and move the 0.3 draft, move main on the spec to 0.3 draft. And also then we had the announcement work. I mean, I put it into Slack for now, but there's probably a bit more. Maybe put it in the mailing list, things like that. So there's a bit more there to be done.
Sounds good. But you intend to do that, or do you want me to do something about that? Or?
If you have spare cycles and you want to do some work on that, by any means. Otherwise, I will do it. If you have spare time, to be honest, I'd rather you invested it in the in the spec topics.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'll continue working on this.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. I think the same.
Okay, good. Right. Yeah, I think that's all for the release V02. I mean, there are follow-up things, of course, like aligning the other SDKs and updating the proof of concepts to use the new versions. And yeah, I don't know how much time I can spend on those now, because I had to spend quite a lot of time on the SDK now this time. And I have other things that need to move forward. But yeah, maybe the update of the proof of concept is something that happens in the 0.3 version instead.
Right. Yeah.
So for the Python SDK, Evan wrote me a message that he's not able to attend, but also some updates. He said there is a new colleague from Fidelity that is a new teammate from of Evan's that is going to start working on the Python SDK. Cool. And so the first thing she's picking up is there's one issue about Pydantic, which is to parse incoming events basically in the Python SDK. So she will be working on that.
Okay.
And Evan is continue working and will continue working on the release automation for both the Python and the Java SDK. That's they mentioned.
Yeah.
That's all of the updates I have there.
Regarding regarding the POC there, if you go back to the release for 0.2 program or project, I heard that Jalander might have started also to look into updating the CDEvents to 0.1, the POC. But you are assigned to it here, so I'm not sure if he has started actually, or if he just intended to start. I just heard that he intended to start something there, but maybe I don't know. Maybe you should reach out to him to see, or you can do it this way. Yeah, that's good. If he would like to do it, or if you should do it. Then I guess I don't know if we need to move it to 0.1, or we could take it to 0.2 directly instead. There is no reason really to have it on 0.1, I guess. Or what do you think? Should we in between? Or?
Yeah, exactly. I guess it depends, since there are many components involved. Some of the components use different SDKs. If we don't have the 0.2 version of the SDK, but that could be also an interesting test to have maybe one component generating 0.2 events, and the other one parsing them using a 0.1 SDK. That in theory should work.
Of course, yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah, so it's good that you just check within there to see. Good. Yeah, that was my comment there.
Okay, so in terms of the testing events, I haven't heard from Ole.
Ole, no, me neither. Ole, yeah. He reached out to me on Slack a few weeks ago, but then I haven't heard anything. I think he said he had looked into most of the comments and he wanted me more or less to look into it again, to the review. But I know that he has some uplifting to do as well.
Right.
So I'm not sure. I haven't been able to spend the time on reviewing it either, really, since he updated his pull request.
All right. I see he replied to my comment at least. So
yeah. So I guess
okay. Well,
it would be good to get it in for 0.3, but we'll see if we manage. We need to review it.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be really be good. Yeah.
I'm not sure how different it will be. I guess it will be some non-backwards compatible changes there, right? Compared to the testing events we have today.
Yeah, I mean, considering that they're moving to a new bucket, but
that doesn't really matter too much on
that doesn't really matter.
But I think some properties might have been renamed and maybe changed locations or something as well. But that would be a good test, I guess, when you talked about the POC there, if there should be different versions in different parts of the POC. It's interesting then to see if a testing event is, but we don't use testing events in the POC, of course, today. But it would be good to see if a consumer and producer could communicate, even though they are up to different versions of CDEvents.
Yeah, I don't know if there is anything around with old versions. I think there is also event type change.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Yeah, because we discussed, and I think it's going to be test case run.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, and so that's actually going to be
non-backwards compatible.
So the old event deprecated pretty much, and this is like a new event. Then
Right.
yeah, test case queued, finished. Right.
I was going to say hi to my son just a second.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
So in terms of tools integrations, the only update that I have is that the RC is merged now. Which is great. So it means that work has been approved by the project team. And I think Jalander is planning to start implementing it.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, that's really good. And yeah, for Jenkins, I don't have any updates since last time. I know that Fidelity is working on that internally for now. And yeah, they plan to make it open source eventually.
Regarding that, I'm a little bit concerned that they work on it for a long time internally and not on the open source. I don't know, just guessing, it could be that they don't want to spend the additional effort needed to publish it and to handle it on the events GitHub. But it of course it hinders anyone else to contribute to it in the meantime, and also hinders us to look into what it looks like and say hey or nay or something if we see something going in the right or wrong direction. But I guess that's
yes, indeed. I share the same concern. I mean, from what Jamie told me, one part of the reason, at least for that, is that they were still finishing, like going through the internal company processes to be able to actually do this in open source, and that it looked very good, but still, I guess the last mile was being processed, and they didn't want to wait doing work.
Yes.
So, and my understanding is that as soon as that hurdle is removed, then it should be possible to get this in the open. And I mean, it can be done in a way that does not hinder speed or velocity. I mean, just having it in a public repository somewhere, with people that can at least comment and so forth, at least see the code. They can still decide to be the owners of that code while they work on it, and
they can be the sole maintainers of the repo for now.
Yeah, exactly. And so that they have the speed they need to make progress, but other people is able to see the code. That would be my hope. But yeah, I'll keep the team posted on progress on that.
Yeah. You know if they in any way will base it on the GSOC Jenkins work that was done a year and a half ago?
Yes. They started from that.
Okay, good. I think that was mostly a cloud events thing, right? And not really too much on CDEvents, but it was the very early beta version of the protocol before 0.1 as well, of course. So
yeah.
That's good.
The only other bit of update that I have from let's say on the connecting events side, last time we discussed starting to put together a PR, and Ben was going to check.
Yeah, did he start? Did you hear anything then?
I And the only thing he mentioned to me is that he got the okay from legal to go ahead.
Good.
So I don't know if he started anything yet, but at least he said he got the approval so that he plans to do it.
Okay. Because I haven't seen anything anyway, but it might have been started somewhere anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hope we get some bandwidth to work on that. Would be great.
Yeah, the only other thing that I could, oh, sorry, didn't manage to put it in the agenda, but maybe we could review the 0.3 roadmap if you want.
Yeah, sure, of course.
We still have plenty of time in the meeting.
By the way, should we keep that tab for the 0.2 roadmap there? I just played around. I think I created that, didn't I? I played around with it to see if we could have like a burn down chart or something with start and end dates and those things using the roadmap feature in GitHub projects, but I don't really know how much this would help us. If we would have sharp deadlines or milestones, we could see how far we are away from those and such things, but we aren't really that mature in the project to benefit from such configurations. I'm not sure if we need this view at all. What do you think? Would it help us? I think the table we used today is good enough for now. I think I tried setting something, but
we to be honest, I've not used it for 0.2, this view.
No, I understand. And I don't think we ever activated it really. I just created the view, but didn't really come to any great usage of it. So therefore I didn't push for it either.
But yeah, I think I'm happy to have different views. I mean, if you have time, if you want to invest and try and building that kind of graph, for sure, it would be nice to see.
Yeah, but we'll see. We can maybe keep it for now or for later, but we don't need to focus on it at least. Yeah.
Maybe what I can do, I can move the 0.3 tab here at the beginning.
Good.
Right. And I guess we can probably have like there you go. Okay, so for 0.3, we still have the short video.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a remaining, right, from the CDEvents.dev work with Larry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we will get there anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think I would have time to do that.
Me neither. So I think we can actually move that away from 0.3. We shouldn't be hindered by that, I think. Could we just remove, untick the 0.3 there, or?
Yeah.
That's better.
Okay. So on the spec, we have the abbreviation for all events type.
Yeah. Let's keep it for now.
Consider taking advantage.
Good. I wonder what we should do about that one. If we should align more with the SIG-INTROP vocabulary part. We haven't discussed this for quite long now. I haven't seen that there is much activity there either, and much discussions on the SIG-INTROP about these terms. So I'm not sure if there is really an an alignment in the community, in SIG-Introp and CDF community, that those terms are what we should strive for. So I don't know, maybe before we put a lot of effort on, I mean, rephrasing things and renaming things in our protocol, maybe we should wait for any push from, what should I say, the TOC maybe, or from central perspective on CDF, that we should really align on this. So what is your thinking around that? Do you think that tools in the CDF are expected to align on this now, or do you consider that still being work in progress to define those terms? And
yeah, I think it's work in progress, to be honest. I don't expect tools will change their names.
no,
But
not really.
Yes, CDEvents could try and align with like standard terminology for sure. But yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe we could have an initiative in the from the DOC to, like you said, to see if we could bring it up at the DOC meeting and see if there is some interest, if someone is interested in reviving this work.
So one thing is the terms pipeline and task or task run. And for those terms, I think there would need to be some consensus in the, what document is that now? The table where we specify all the tools and their names for pipelines and tasks and stages and whatever. There should be like a common row at the bottom or something saying that this is the least common denominator, or something like that, that these are the terms we should go for, but there is no such yet. So maybe before we start changing in CDEvents, we should maybe propose such an update to the to that table.
Yes, indeed.
Because otherwise, I mean, we could just choose what we have today. We have the tecton vocabulary more or less today in those events. So I don't think we should just move away from that before we have something more stable to move to. Yeah, and I would expect that to happen now before the end of April. So let's move away. I agree.
So we have secure software supply chain aspects, which is very broad. But yeah, I would like to start doing something around this in 0.3. Maybe like having a signed predicate for the artifact event and what we plan for 0.2. So I would leave that this one. And maybe if I create more specific items, then I can put them in 0.3 and leave these out. But for now, I think it's fine to have it in. So then we have 35 different type of tests in CDEvents. So the idea was to make progress on the test events. I'm not sure. I don't think we have such naming in the PR from Ole right now, and that was because there's no standard again for that. Let's see if there is something.
So test type, if that exists in the test case. Subject.
There are some examples here. but I don't think they're specifically.
It's just a free text string, right? There's not an enum.
Yeah, as far as I know, test run, test
It
case
says
run.
actually trigger, type of trigger, one of manual pipeline, blah, blah, blah. That was a trigger, sorry. So the trigger is still some enum, but not the type. Okay, sorry.
No, there is actually an enum
An enum.
defined.
On the content.
Yeah, it's part of the subject content. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well,
So then I guess the documentation should state that it's an enum and not just a free text string. But yeah. Okay.
but what I would do is then maybe if it's not yet in there, mark this. Yeah, set a milestone in this one.
Yeah.
So we know that we tried to get it in 0.3.
Sounds good.
Okay. Connecting events. This is in progress. Oops. It says. No. Okay, well, maybe it's not in there.
It's not in a project. Not a member of CDEvents project then. I guess we could just add him or.
Yeah. Let me check. Actually, the org. Like,
Yeah, people.
okay, well, I'll send him the invite
Mm.
and hopefully. You didn't see that. Okay. All right. Well, anyways, so next connecting events. Yeah, hopefully we can address that.
Yeah, have something in
as part of 3. Yeah, at least partly, and saying then for global IDs. This is actually already done in 0.2.
Yeah, I think this could be considered done. Should we ask Larry on that if he's pleased with this that there is now?
Yeah.
Good.
Right. The other one that we have in the schema URI property to the context.
Right. That was back in November.
Yeah, I think this should be a relatively small change.
Yeah,
It's
that's another string.
backward compatible. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just another string to add to the schemas. To each context.
I mean, it would. I guess as long as it's the same schema, I guess there wouldn't be impact on the SDKs. If we did add like the ability to have a generic schema in there, I guess then the SDK would need to support fetching that.
Yeah. Sure, you're right. I guess the idea with this was that some users of the event protocol might want to restrict the event schemas further than what the protocol does for some internal specific needs. I mean, limiting some enums or limiting some strings to even tighter format. And then it would be good to have the possibility to have a schema for that internally in the schema registry. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I'm just trying to imagine, I guess, how it would work in practice. So I would not want, I guess, every time we parse a message, the SDK to go and download that schema from somewhere.
No, for sure. And the SDK would then need to have some additional optional feature for dealing with specific schemas. And when you call the SDK, when you use the SDK, you need to forward that schema reference somehow to the SDK. And if that exists, then the SDK could maybe just should the SDK validate it, then maybe it should, if that is provided. But still, if it's just an optional part of the protocol, there's no need that the schemas, at least initially, have support for it yet. But anyway, it's visible that we intend to support it through the protocol. And then eventually the SDKs could support it later on as well.
Okay.
In some way.
Yeah, what I do for the Go SDK now, I use the Go embedding capabilities, so that it's actually pulling the schemas in as a variable, as a constant, I guess, in the type definitions.
Yeah.
So that it's basically then becomes part of the Go module. So when you redistribute or download the SDK, you have the schemas embedded in there, so that you can validate them without having to download them from anywhere. But it will only validate against the schemas that for the spec version corresponding to the SDK version.
Exactly. Yeah. So you cannot send an event with an old schema version using a new SDK.
You cannot send it. You can receive it. So in the latest version of the Go SDK, I introduced support from what we discussed to being able to parse older messages or newer messages as long as they're kind of compatible.
Okay.
I mean, newer messages on a minor version, they will be compatible, but they might lose data, right? Because you can have additive changes. Yeah. But it will try to validate. If you ask to validate, if you call the validate method on the SDK, it will use the embedded schema. Right, so that means that validation will fail because the spec version will be different. For instance, I think. Okay, do we enforce?
So
I'm
do
not
you
sure
think
if
this is something we should have for 0.3, or should we focus on the supply chain and the connecting events? This is quite a small thing, of course, to add. So, but anyway, since we now generate things in the SDKs based on the schemas, we need to have some kind of handling of this property also there. But I guess the SDK, you just consider it just a free text string. You don't need to have any special handling for now.
Yeah, exactly.
No validation and nothing else, just a string.
I mean, it's not like high in my priority list right now, because I don't think we need it for the POCs.
No, we don't.
But I think it's fine to have it if you want to implement it. I'm happy to keep it in the milestone.
Yeah, but at the same time, if I don't think that anyone else would prioritize it either. And if I should focus my time on something here, I should probably focus on the connecting events or the supply chain part as well. I mean, we just have 1 month away, so I wouldn't expect that I will be able to do this or prioritize it now. I would rather prioritize the connecting events discussions and those parts. I mean, we have 1 week lost for KubeCon more or less as well, so it's more or less just three weeks away or something. So no, I think we can actually move this away from 0.3.
Okay.
We
probably need to create a 0.4 milestone so we can start adding things there eventually.
In the roadmap, it has a roadmap label on it at least, so we intend to do it.
Yeah. So that's all we have. To be honest, from a spec point of view, if we have like test events, if we have some feature in the area of software supply chain security, and we have an initial implementation of connecting events, I would be very happy for 0.3. So I think that looks fine. I wouldn't go and look for anything else to add in here. This document general required features, it's something that I would like to try and do for this release. And the only last item we have is the GitHub to CDEvent translation, proof of concept. I mean, and probably also the proof of concepts that we will move over from 0.2. So, but I guess those are kind of ongoing, and I mean, I can check with Vaibhav and Brad if there was any progress on that. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I think we should. Was there a pull request created? I don't see any pull request linked there.
No, I've not seen anything.
No. Maybe we should ask them if there's anything ongoing, and if it isn't, then we should probably move it away from 0.3. Unfortunately, or ask if they could do something before the CDCon on this. I think Brad is coming, right, to Vancouver. I think I saw he would present something. Not sure what it was about. So if it was Persia or something, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if he intends to include something on this, but if we would be able to, it would be great, of course, to have something like this included in whatever he talks about there, if possible, but maybe we cannot enforce that, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have a talk on CDEvents in Vancouver.
Yeah, good.
Which is, well, I think it's like doing interoperability through CDEvents. So I guess a general introduction to CDEvents and what features we have in the protocol, what updates and so forth. And then the second part, I want to focus on like integrating CDEvents into tools. So I guess I will collect some I wanted to collect some stories, the experience they had on Jenkins side and Spinnaker side, and
Cool.
maybe hopefully Tekton if I manage to get some progress there. Well, I have done something done on Tekton anyway, so I will include that for sure. And hopefully I would be interested to get something from Ole maybe as well about what they plan to do for TestCube. So I will try to kind of gather those kind of stories and present those. But yeah, since there's a lot of people working in different aspects of these, so my plan is to basically say what you've done so far, and what kind of experience we had in doing these, but we cannot plan for a specific announcements. I think it will be very difficult to do that.
Yeah, for sure. What was I thinking? No, but I think that's great. Good that you have the opportunity to present what's new at least. That's perfect. And let's hope we can have something ready by end of April. So yeah, some time to prepare as well. Some few days. For the new features, I mean, for 0.3.
Yeah. Then in Vancouver, they also have this theater with like 15 minutes talks. And like the idea is to have like updates from the projects.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone else from CDEvents is going to be in Vancouver, maybe you might be interested in doing that update. If no one else is available, I could try and schedule a quick update on my side, maybe reuse some of the content from my main talk in there as well.
Yeah. Or you can maybe use the presentation you used for the TOC before Christmas on CDEvent status.
Yeah, something like that, and more up to date.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's a pity. I think we cannot all meet there.
But we'll meet in Amsterdam, right? You will be there.
Yeah, I will be there.
So we'll meet there. I'm not sure if anyone else in the CDEvents community will come there, but we can maybe reach out on Slack to the community before we go there and see if anyone else is joining.
That's a good idea. Yeah, it would be nice to.
How is it with the interest, by the way, in IBM, since you are in IBM on CDEvents and these things? Is there anyone else interested than you, or how does that work in IBM?
Yes, there is interest. I'm working on keeping it growing, so to say. So there's definitely interest. I mean, in terms of more on the observability, if you will, type of use case.
Okay.
Because we do work a lot we do use Tekton a lot internally. We have products based on it, and so there is interest in having like events with more kind of specific schema. So we're starting to use cloud events, or actually we are using cloud events today, so it's a nice fit. But today there's no standard format for the different tools and from Tekton. So there is definitely interest in having something more standardized that would allow us to, I guess, gather data more consistently across the different pipelines and tools and things.
Yeah. So IBM would push for implicit support in Tekton then for CDEvents, I guess.
Yes, that's definitely of interest. there.
And when you say observability, is that like visualization, or is it metrics, or is it KPIs, or DORA, or what kind of observability is that, or traceability even, or?
It's traceability and metrics as
Okay.
well.
Maybe vulnerability management as well, or?
Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
But yeah, so one of the problems with Tekton today is that when you run a pipeline, because it's very non-opinionated, when you run a pipeline in Tekton, you don't get that much information about what's going on within the pipeline.
Yeah.
So having the ability to generate events more specific from Tekton pipelines and having a way to hook those into somehow, so link somehow the specification on Tekton side to events produced with more context would be useful. So I mean, pipeline started and stopped for sure. That's fine. But I think that there's more interest in like being able to produce events about build happened or artifact being signed,
Right.
these kind of things.
Good. It sounds like more or less everyone would have those use cases, but it's good that someone can start leveraging from CDEvents. And of course, it's good to showcase in these conferences that we have some kind of early support in some tools, but it would also be even more interesting as to see companies adopting it and starting to use it. But of course, well, CDEvents is not yet released in any production format or version, but as soon as that happens, it would be great to see those user stories as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think Fidelity definitely is interested in using it.
Yeah, sounds like that.
And I mean, other companies, I mean, Ben is involved in the spec, and I'm involved in the spec, and I don't know, is there any plan on your side, you think, on the Ericsson side, to adopt CDEvents in any?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, eventually, if CDEvents become successful, we will for sure consider that as a good option. I mean, today we have Eiffel, and we use Eiffel quite extensively internally. So obviously there is a question there always, why do we invest in CDEvents when we have Eiffel? And that's something I need to answer from now and then. But of course, we would like to see CDEvents being more broadly accepted and more broadly used than Eiffel. And when that happens, we will for sure look into migrating to CDEvents. But until that happens, I guess we are quite pleased with Eiffel as it is today. So we will continue using that, of course, but we are constantly looking into CDEvents as well. And some parts of Ericsson which have not adopted Eiffel might go to CDEvents for at first pass. So it depends, but still, of course, we cannot base any production flows, I guess, on CDEvents until there is a good release of it. So
yeah, of course.
No, but the interest is for sure there. Yeah. Okay. I see time's up.
Oh, we are at time. Yeah.
Good. So we have the SIG meeting this afternoon. Let's see who joins then, and then talk to you next time.
Yes. Do we don't have anything?
Not anything planned. No
presentation
presentations.
planned.
We'll see if we will have it or if we'll cancel it. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Talk to you then. Bye bye.
Thanks, Emil. Nice talking to you. Bye.